A very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. I'm Ritwika Gupta, and today we are celebrating Children's Day with not one, not two, but three special conversations talking about inculcating entrepreneurial skills in children and India's growing toy economy. On the show today, I'll be first in conversation with actor and author Soha Ali Khan, followed by a chat with Tanya Shah of Toycra. In the second segment, I'm speaking to Moiz Gabajiwala, CEO of Zephyr Toymakers. Joining me live right now is Soha Ali Khan. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
So to kick things off, Soha, you have written books for children, the Inni and Bono series. Tell us, how do you make your stories engaging for young readers?
I think firstly keep it short because children don't have the longest attention spans and they are very honest reviewers. So when they are bored, they'll just get up and walk away. So we had a good person to test this on, which was our daughter Anaya, and she of course found the story enthralling because she was the central character. But we realized that we needed to make the situations engaging, exciting. We needed to really evoke emotions within the child, and we've tried to use that along with beautiful illustrations by Rituparna Sarkar, and also by using some really lovely words that are not too simple, but a couple of challenging words, so they also expand on their vocabulary.
Soha, tell us, what are some ways educators can help children develop skills, such as problem solving, innovation and leadership, which are quite important for future entrepreneurship?
I actually have found that teaching your child how to play chess is really useful, because one of the things I've noticed in my own child is that she's now aware immediately of consequences. If she takes an action, there will be a consequence to that. If you make a move in chess, your opponent can make a counter move on the basis of what you have done. And sometimes that can be a desirable outcome. Many times, if you've not thought your actions through, it can be an undesirable outcome. And that goes way beyond chess. And I really see now Inaya thinks about what she's doing because she understands all her actions have some ramifications to them and consequences to them. And she has to then own those consequences. So I think that really when you're talking about teaching your children about consequences, about ownership, about responsibility, there are many ways to teach them, but if you introduce chess to them, perhaps at the age of 5, it's really quite profound.
So, in a world filled with digital distractions, what do you think needs to be done to foster more hands-on engagement and offline creativity in children?
I would say, again, you have to just set boundaries. There's a lot of wonderful advantages to the digital world, even to television. There's a lot of advantages. She learns a lot from shows that she watches, and now there's this wonderful category called edutainment, where it's not just mindless entertainment, but there's actually content that teaches you things as well, which I embrace. But of course, too much screen time is a bad thing, so you have to draw those boundaries. Instead of saying no, no, no to screens all the time, teach your child to use screens responsibly. So there's definitely times where I put away my phone when I'm playing with my child. We play physical games together, like running around or kabaddi or hide and seek. We play board games together. We read together. We do lots of arts and crafts that she enjoys doing. We play the piano. We're both learning piano, Inaya and myself. So there's so much that you can do. It requires a little bit of investment of time and energy, because it's a lot easier to turn on the television and leave your child, for a while to entertain themselves. But I think that it does pay off.
Fantastic. On that note, Soha, children often look up to celebrities like you for inspiration. How do you hope to inspire the young minds?
I think when you become a parent, the first thing you realize is that you are a role model. Of course, as an actor also, you find yourself being a role model, but you're not required to be one. You at home want to be the best version of yourself as soon as you become a parent. And soon you realize that you cannot always be perfect. And even though you know what the right thing to do is, and you preach it, you may not always find yourself being able to practice it. So one of the things I've quickly learned is to try and be the best version of myself, but when I'm unable to do that, to accept and be easy on myself and to apologize for when you make a mistake and you take ownership for your actions and you move beyond it. and you don't hold grudges. So I think if you manage to sort of implement this in your life, the idea is not to be perfect, but to try and be the best version of yourself.
Fantastic. So as we commemorate Children's Day today on Leaders of Tomorrow, I'd like to conclude by asking you about your aspirations for the future of children in India who will become the leaders of tomorrow. What, in your opinion, are the essential steps that should be taken to enhance their development and foster creativity?
I think when I look at this generation, I am very hopeful and optimistic, because a lot of what they learn comes from us as parents, but increasingly they're spending more time with friends and at school. So I think what they teach at school has to sort of resonate, and I'm very happy that my child is going to a school where they are inculcating values like equality, like taking responsibility for your actions, like respect for others, there's like protecting the environment, recycling, kindness, making sure that you're looking after those in your class who are perhaps new to things. So I think that when those things are being buttressed at school, it's wonderful, and your job becomes a lot easier. And I do believe, especially when I look at this generation and the focus that there is today in the schools and in parenting on being good citizens, I'm hopeful for the future.
Soha, tell me a bit about the event you're at today, and what role do you believe festivals like these play to inculcate reading habits in children?
I'm very excited to be here in Gurgaon today at the Kuktu Festival. It is really one of the largest festivals when it comes to children and literature and arts. And our session, of course, will be on the children's book that Kunal and I have written called Inni and Bobo. And there are 3 in the series. So we hope to have a nice interactive session.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Soha. It was good speaking with you.
Thank you so much.
Now, moving swiftly on to our next segment, I'm now joined by Tanya Shah, co-founder Toycra, talking to me about India's toy industry, opportunities for small businesses, and much more. Thanks for being on the show, Tanya.
Thank you so much, Ritwika. It's a pleasure and very grateful to be here.
The term toyconomy in India has gained attention with Prime Minister Modi emphasizing the growth of the toy industry. How do you see this initiative impacting the toy sector?
We were just post-COVID, and there was an import restriction that was put up in an industry which has been predominantly an import-based industry and also not very organized. So we all of us, all the players who have been importing big or small brands were a little peevish about it, and we were not sure how this would pan out, because there was suddenly also a big supply gap for a particular period of time. But like you say, when that entire labor pain was processed, in hindsight, this has been one of the biggest and best moves that could have been possible. Thanks to Mr. Prime Minister, because this has actually allowed for new value chains to be created in the toy industry. The entire toy economy, as we say, that has been kickstarted thanks to these changes, these initiatives, the MSME support that's coming in. It's been brilliant, actually, because there's an entire new value chain that is vibrant and waiting to explode into the global market.
Tanya, could you provide insights into the current state of India's toy industry and its potential for growth?
So, right now, the global toy industry is, say, 15 lakh crore. And India, with its population, with its innovation capabilities, still at 15,000 crore. So there is a very long roadmap, which, we still have to go on to. The global brands that we talk about, they are all 40, 50, 100-year-olds. So it could take a little bit of time to create global brands that are coming out of India and exporting at such a large volume. We need to simultaneously invite these top 40, 50 brands into India, get them to do their production here, get them to export their production from here, and utilize that production for our own consumption too. And this is what will really, emphasize India's growth.
Tell us about Toycra, Tanya, the idea behind it, and how has your journey been so far?
So the idea of Toycra was, coincidentally, it was hatched when my husband Virang and I were in MBA last trimester. And that's where we met. We are co-founders today. Throughout our discussion, we realized what a big scope there is if you start providing learning-based tools, if you start providing educational, open-ended tools. And at that time, still, there was a dearth of such toys in India. That's where we started. Within 9 months, we wanted to put up a flagship store, at least at one place. So we have a brick and mortar presence, which is in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. At that time, we were one of the biggest showrooms in India. We are still the biggest showroom in Gujarat. Uh, Amazon, Flipkart flew just with us around that time, 2013, and we rode that wave for 4 to 5 years. We were, in fact, the biggest toy seller on almost all online marketplaces for 4 to 5 years, which is when then post that we realized that it's better to have perhaps our own independent website. And we started slowly exiting these and started toycra.com, which is now an independent website. We are shipping 500 plus orders a day. Today, we are standing at a day where we have our own made in India range. We have 20, 25 products up in production. And now we are on way to become a global brand, which is made in India.
The focus on vocal for local has gained momentum. Tell me, how is Toycra contributing to the promotion of ingenious toy manufacturing and empowering local artisans and manufacturers, especially MSMEs?
Even before this entire directive was issued, we were always an aggregator. We have always been a macro aggregator and promoting Indian brands that were coming up in wooden toys, in DIY toys. These are two sections that where Indian companies have done really well in the recent past. We've almost always been one of the first to onboard them, promote them, support them, because like I said, we also distribute brands. So it's always been a very positive agenda for Virang and I to make sure that even other brands that are being made in India should be encouraged and not just our homegrown brands. That is one part. And the second is our homegrown brand. So 15th August last year was when we launched our first made in India product. This was magnetized. You will not believe, Ritwika, this was a product which nobody thought could be made here. They are the number one in the world when it comes to magnetic tiles. Then secondly, our own range, which is open-ended by Toycra. This range is utilizing new toy designers, young talent who is hungry, who knows, who's in sync with us when it comes to providing toys that parents love and not just what kids love. So we're utilizing as many units as possible. We're working with the local talent there and making sure that whatever is coming out now is made in India, but made for the world.
Thank you for taking the time out, Tanya. It was lovely speaking to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
On that note, it's time for a quick break here. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back to IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11, and today we are celebrating Children's Day on Leaders of Tomorrow with a special focus on India's toy industry and the potential it has in India. Segment, Moiz Gabajiwala, CEO of Zephyr Toymakers, joins me to tell me more about their journey. Moiz, thank you so much for being on Leaders of Tomorrow on our Children's Day special episode.
My pleasure.
So, I want to kick this off by asking you the inspiration behind your brand, Zephyr. Tell us what is the story behind it, because you've been into it along with your family for many years right now. So, what inspired you to get into the toy sector?
So in 1983, when I was around 2 years of age, my father went around looking for toys that he wanted to give me. But he faced two problems. One is he couldn't find products that he would want to give me, which he could afford. And second is the ones he could find, he didn't like the quality. Okay. So that started him thinking. He was in manufacturing. So he started thinking, okay, how can I help? Mm-hmm. I don't want my son not to play with toys, especially good toys. And that's when he said, okay, I will start making toys that are educational, good quality, and also affordable by the masses of India. Nice. So that's how he got into it, and as a legacy, I got into the business.
Fantastic. Earlier this year, PM Modi actually famously coined the term toyconomy, and I think that has become really prominent in the sector. And it has also, put the toy sector in the spotlight in some way. So, really tell us, what opportunities do you see, especially for smaller businesses in this industry?
Toys is an exciting field. If you try to see, where do you get to have so much fun while you're working? Very few industries, you can count them on your fingers, and actually at the same time contribute to a child's life, right? So as long as there are children born, as long as there are people, India has a specific advantage because we've got one of the highest birth rates and we've got a very young population. So even when they become parents, they are still going to want to play with toys.
Right.
What also is happening is people are understanding that toys are not only for kids. There are certain toys that even adults need to keep playing, keep them stimulated. And after all, it's a lot of fun.
Right.
You call it hobby, you call it toys, the way you want it. But that is the reason why, it's very exciting, and the future for the toy industry is really bright. Of course, it has to be enough for satiating the creativity and uniqueness that is needed for the current generation.
Absolutely. If you could also give us an overview of the kind of toys that you have.
We focus mainly into metal construction sets, educational kits, robotics sets. Also, we have arts and craft kits, and we've got toys that enable a child from the age of 0 to 6, based on their development milestones. They use those products and they grow.
What are the key challenges that are faced by smaller businesses in the toy sector?
The biggest challenge is keeping freshness in your product offering. A lot of times you'll see that anybody who wants to start a company, they look at what's already working in the market, pick it up, replicate it, and push it back in the market. All that does is cannibalize one another. And at the same time, it doesn't give the satisfaction that the consumer is looking for. In the toy industry, you keep buying a new product, or rather you should be buying a new product based on your child's age, developmental milestone. For that, you have to have new products coming out in the market time and again. Toys as a design has to be a long-lasting product. So suppose you've got 2 kids in your family, you already have one set of products. You need to have newness or new products that you can buy, look, experience with. Additionally, every different generation of a child has a different requirement. So you have to adapt your product to those requirements. Now, this entails a lot of cost on R&D, manufacturing, and creating an awareness in the customer's mind. And that, as you all understand, uses a lot of capital. That is the biggest problem for an MSME company.
So in a world dominated by global toy brands, right, I want to understand, how can Indian toy manufacturers find their own space? How can they compete globally?
So globally, 85% of the toys that are sold are licensed products, right? Here, most of these characters or licenses that are there, they are not of Indian origin. So we have to start focusing on the hard products. When we focus on the hard products, we come straight into competition with China. And all around the world, China has the massive infrastructure, scale, and a very mature toy industry. We are starting off. So our offering has to be even more lucrative for somebody to look at us. How we can break that is basically developing a brand. Rather than become an outsourced factory for the world, which today could be India, tomorrow Vietnam, day after tomorrow Thailand, and currently it is China. It's easy for a brand to move from one country to the other. If we own the brand, we decide where the manufacturing is. We decide where the distribution is. And I think that is where the focus has to be.
Right. Moiz, on this note, I want to ask you if you can tell us a little bit about your association with IDFC First Bank and how that has contributed to your journey.
We've been working with IDFC Bank since their inception. I guess with the founding team, one of the founding members was a friend of mine, and that time we were banking with Citibank, and he said we should move. And being a friend, I said, okay, let's move. But it's been that day, maybe about 12, 15 years ago, till today, we are still banking with IDFC Bank. I think the tenure and just the fact we stayed along says a lot about it.
Right. Are there any specific products or offerings, that you really like and, that you would like to, talk about?
I think IDFC Bank has got a great set of people. And when they talk to us about the products, they talk to us as if those products were specifically tailored for us. And in cases, it might not be so. But when they create it, they come back to us with something that actually satisfies us. So that product offering, I guess, I'm assuming, is tailored to every customer's need. That's what I've got the feeling. And when we are working with them for a lot of our debts are also with them. We have our salary accounts with them. We have all our operational accounts with them. And that is the width of what we are working with them.
Fantastic. So how do you see this long-term association, impacting your company in the long run?
So until the sky falls on our head, I think we'll be associated with IDFC Bank. And if this kind of service continues, this kind of efficient working continues, this kind of responsibility continues, I don't see a reason for me to ever have to look somewhere else.
Finally, tell us, what is your outlook on the toy sector, especially in India?
I'm in the toy business, so I'm always going to have a positive outlook. But being a little more pragmatic, I feel, again, I might sound like I'm repeating myself, but that's what it is. The essence is newness, R&D is what is important. So we are going gung-ho, we are going very aggressive into product development, new product offerings. And the reason we are doing that is because we feel that the toy industry has tremendous potential. If you get the right product to the right customer at the right price, it's got tremendous potential and it's a market that is growing.
Right. Well, fantastic talking to you, Moiz. Thank you so much for being with us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
With that, it's a wrap on this edition of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. We hope you enjoyed the conversations. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.